Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 20th episode of the Coffin Corner Podcast. I'm your host, GoodNightPunk, and with me, as always, is my good friend Richie. Richie, it's playoff time.
It is, in fact, playoff time. The regular season is over, and there are 14 teams left, and ours are two of them.
Isn't it? It is so weird to think that the end of the season has already come, but I'm still fully engulfed in the football season. I'm so used to bad Lion teams where once that final week ends, it's like, okay, well, nothing really matters. It's just watching football for fun now.
Yeah,
But
I'm used to like December time paying attention to the draft and free agency. Usually the Commanders are eliminated well before then.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool that it's January and I'm not just watching football because I like football. I'm watching football to root for my team.
Yeah, it was a sudden change for the Lions, but I like it. And same for you, right?
Yeah, last couple seasons for the Lions, it's a nice change.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it continues. But
I agree.
gotta enjoy it while we've got it for sure. So
Exactly, because then it'll be gone, and we'll be like, it feels like it's been forever since there's been a football game.
yeah. All right, well, I'm going to start us off with our top 5 this week. Last week we did top 5 memories of 2024, not necessarily sports related. This time I decided to make it just football and go with the top 5 surprises of the 2024 season. This was because I spent some time going over our predictions that we did back in August. So I was thinking about how the season turned out and the things that surprised us. So I'll start us off. My number 5 is Derrick Henry not being horrible. And by that I mean I thought at his age he was kind of over the hill. But dude finished second in the NFL in rushing.
Was absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
He was completely done.
Yeah, and lo and behold, man, he dominated for the Ravens. He looked good.
Yeah. If just a few more of Lamar's yards had gone to him, he'd have had 2,000.
Yeah. He was, for a while, him and Saquon were on pace to hit 2,000, so.
Which would be the first time that ever happened, right?
Yeah, 2 in the same year.
Mm-hmm.
Good year for King Henry, for sure.
Absolutely. All right, well, I might miss some things, but when I was doing these were my instant ones that I could think of, all right? So, number 1 is J.K. Dobbins playing a full season. He missed some games. I think he missed like 3 or 4. But he still played well. So he played a full season, and then on top of that, he played really well. Like to the tune of at least top 15, top 20 yardage for a running back, and top 10 for touchdowns. So,
yeah, that's awesome to see for him. Sucks he missed a couple games in there, but luckily it wasn't, a major season-ending injury like he has in the past. So, definitely, I think that's the
key is that he came back from that injury. It wasn't okay, he did finally get injured, and might come back during spring training next year. But no, he's back right now for the playoffs. So
he is playing in the playoffs for them and looking good.
So
my number 4, so off the back of Derrick Henry not being horrible, my number 4 is the Jets being horrible. They have a great roster. I still believe they have some really good talent, guys like Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. But man, oh man, did Aaron Rodgers drive that team into the ground.
Dude, when they should have fired Nathaniel Hackett, they fired Robert Saleh, a good head coach, instead.
Yes.
Like, what?
Yeah. They did everything in their power to make Aaron Rodgers happy, and yet his terrible quarterback play is what cost them the most this season.
Yeah. Didn't really matter what they did. It was him all along. So,
yeah.
That's crazy.
So interesting to see what happens with the Jets going forward, who they hire as coach, if they keep Rodgers, if Rodgers retires. It's going to be a crazy offseason.
I still find it hilarious that Zach Wilson had a better season last year than Aaron Rodgers had this year.
Yeah. After looking at Sam Darnold, it's like, boy, Zach Wilson, maybe he's not as bad as it looked. Maybe it's just the Jets.
He went to the Broncos, right? Zach Wilson?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so. Bo Nix backup, Zach Wilson. My number 4 is Daniel Jones not only playing badly, but playing so badly that he was cut outright. They realized their mistake was that bad, they just had to cut all freaking ties.
You know what's funny? I wish I would have thought of this because I would put it on my list. I think one of my biggest surprises is that general manager and coach did not get fired.
Yeah, both of them stayed on.
Cannot believe that after extending Daniel Jones, letting Barkley walk, and then cutting Jones, and the owner's like, you know what? Let's run it back. It's mind-boggling.
I like these guys. These guys, you guys are fun.
The Giants are. They've got to be the worst team in the league at this point. It's insane.
Bad.
Yeah. My number 3 is the Commanders. I didn't have this higher because I felt the 2 above this were more surprising, but the Commanders making the playoffs is absolutely one of my biggest surprises. I did not expect them to have that big of a turnaround in 1 year. I had them going maybe 6 wins, 7 if we got lucky. Mm-hmm. So to go 12-5 and make the playoffs is crazy in Dan Quinn's first year as coach. Still a lot of holes on the team, a lot of holes that need to be filled, but to be a wild card in the first year of a rebuild is pretty damn exciting. Hopefully, if everything keeps going on this trajectory, then next year we'll be winning the division. So,
I like Dan Quinn, and it's kind of funny because he just seemed like the throw-in last option pick when they got him, but he's actually, I think he's good. I think he's a good coach.
He's the perfect. Sorry. Excuse me. He was the perfect coach that they needed, it turned out, because he is a leader of the locker room. And then you've got Kingsbury kind of running the offense. It's the best situation for them. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I really hope we don't lose Cliff Kingsbury. I think he's best suited to be an offensive coordinator, and I know there's talk of him going to Chicago or wherever, but boy, I hope he stays because I worry about what our offense would look like next year under somebody else.
Well, they could always get better. That's the thing.
It could, but
because it is still Cliff Kingsbury, and I don't know if you forgot what happened in the middle of the season with their offense, but yes.
Yeah, but then it bounced back just fine. So you can't blame Kingsbury for that. We still had injuries on the offensive line. In Arizona. Brian Robinson.
I have 4 years in Arizona that are options.
Right. And it's all Kingsbury? It's not Kyler being a piece of shit as well? Like, you just think...
So we're going to shift all the blame off of Kingsbury for one good year? I'm just saying it could be better if you lost it.
Everything could be better, but I also know our offensive line was banged up.
You're being a pessimist, I'm being an optimist. There you go.
How are you being an optimist saying that Kingsbury in the middle of the season struggled, so it'd be
I'm saying it could get better.
It could get better. It was his first year with a non-talented offensive line and non-explosive running backs. And Olamide Zaccheaus as his second wide receiver. If you improve the talent around him, it could get better with Cliff.
Okay, cool. That's your guy now. I got it. You made fun of him for the past 2 years, but now he's your guy. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, because he was successful as an offensive coordinator, not as a head coach.
Give me more than a year sample size. That's all I'm saying.
I just don't believe that losing him would be beneficial, considering I've seen teams lose offensive coordinators.
If you lose I agree there. If you lose something that's currently good, you never want to do that and hope you get something better. That is for sure.
Yeah, I'd rather.
I'm not saying that
on what we have.
I'm just saying you're not losing the top coordinator in the NFL if you lose Cliff Kingsbury. And the options, there's 50-50 whether you get someone better, in my opinion. So
see, I think that's unfair considering when you look at the offense for the Commanders this year, they are a top 10 offense in the NFL. So to say Kingsbury's not a top offensive coordinator is kind of unfair to him.
He's got all the pieces, so I mean, it works out.
I'm just saying, if keep him, continue to build up the offense with better receivers and better offensive line, or at least a healthy offensive line, could be even better next year. Lose him and hire somebody else off the street who changes the playbook and changes what they have Jaden doing. Could be worse.
I don't think they would. I think they'd pick up whoever who's learning from him.
Well, unless he takes them with him. If he goes to become a head coach somewhere, he may want to take his assistants and coordinating the position coaches with him. So,
no.
I'm just saying, look at Ben Johnson Lions. You think if they lose Ben Johnson and he takes his quarterbacks coach and running back coach and offensive line coach to go, wherever he ends up going, you're not worried about them being worse next year? You think everything's going to be fine?
I'm not worried, no. I think that
right.
They've had 2.5 years planning on him leaving, that they've inserted a plan for him to leave. I don't think Ben Johnson leaves the Lions in the lurch at all. I think when he's ready to leave, he will leave, and he will leave someone who's capable of running the offense.
I hope so.
But he could have been a head coach already multiple times, and he didn't, which is why I think that he wouldn't screw the Lions. So, but that's one situation.
That's always my fear when guys leave and get promoted is teams struggle afterwards. Look at the 49ers.
Here's the thing. I would worry more that the offense would get worse with Ben Johnson leaving. I would be more optimistic if Aaron Glenn left that the defense will get better. Because I don't
really.
Yes, 1,000%. As much as Aaron Glenn is a head coach candidate for all these teams, please take him. I don't think he's terrible, but he hasn't run his defense is always in the bottom of the league, always, including this year. So I don't know what's making him giving head coach vibes to everyone, but it's not statistically his defenses.
A lot of people wanted to interview him, and maybe it's just off the Vikings game that they're all excited.
It's all year they've been saying this. And I'm like, I don't know if you know this, but the Lions defense is not that great or good. So,
well, it's like the Giants offensive coordinator getting interviewed by teams. It's like, why are you interviewing the Giants offensive coordinator for a head coaching position?
I do think that Aaron Glenn is an awesome guy, and I think that he would definitely be a good leader. But as far as statistically defense-wise, I think that our defense could be better. I wouldn't say would be, but could be better with a different defensive coordinator. So, I don't know. Just coordinators are weird. Let me read my 3. Cooper Rush starting the back half of the season after Dak Prescott's injury instead of the man they traded for, Trey Lance. I guess he played in the final week, but that was because Cooper Rush was hurt. Crazy to me that they spent draft picks to get this guy and then refused to play him at all.
I think it just goes to show you how bad Trey Lance is.
Must be.
Yeah, them and the 49ers have seen enough of him in practice to not even bother giving him starting time in games.
Yeah.
So
that's bad.
And he's a free agent after this year. So I wonder where he'll end up. But
where it'll be a third stringer backup. He's got no chance anymore.
Probably. Well, number 2, speaking of Trey Lance, the 49ers missing the playoffs. Huge surprise. They had been on a roll. Christian McCaffrey getting hurt, missing time. Didn't help, but they had, I can't remember the guy's name right now, filling in, and he played fine. They just, as a team, collapsed. Defense looked terrible. They lost Ayuk.
Signed him to a massive contract, get injured for the whole season.
Yeah, but they just, man. And it begs the question, is Brock Purdy worth $50 million a year that they're going to pay him. I don't know. It's definitely not the season I expected.
Say goodbye to Debo.
Oh, I think, Debo and McCaffrey are both cut.
Debo should be gone for sure because A, he didn't do anything last season for the 49ers, and B, they've got 2 young receivers that I see doing big things in the future in Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall had, fantasy-wise, on my taxi squad, 3 straight games to end the season all at 20 or more points, or right around 20 points. I'm like, oh, my other 3rd round draft pick from the Dynasty League is also going to be a stud.
Yeah, they between Pearsall, Jennings, they paid Ayuk. They're gonna have to pay Purdy. I think Debo, McCaffrey, Trent Williams, they're all gonna be released.
When Jordan Mason and Isaac Garindo and these guys like that are filling in fine for McCaffrey, and even when he's back, they're not winning, that's a lot of money for a guy that you can't be paying everyone on your team. They got the Rams issue going on, and they didn't even win a Super Bowl, where they just have a giant bloated roster filled with people they have to get rid of. Yeah. It's just crazy.
Yeah, they had their window with Purdy on his super cheap rookie contract, and unfortunately couldn't get past the Chiefs, and now you either pay Purdy or you let him walk and you can continue to pay cheap quarterbacks, but I think they're going to end up bowing to pressure and paying Brock Purdy.
Well, they'll never get a cheaper quarterback for as many years as they did than they did Mr. Irrelevant.
They'd have to draft another 7th rounder.
Yeah, exactly, and hope that he can play the way Brock Purdy did. Yeah, it's just unfortunate for them.
It is. Window slammed shut.
My next one is one of the biggest Pro Bowl snubs I think I've ever seen, and that is Kirby Joseph not making the Pro Bowl. Xavier McKinney, who has 2 less interceptions than him and a whole gang of less tackles than him, somehow made the Pro Bowl at free safety, while Kirby Joseph, who leads the league in interceptions, is not in the Pro Bowl.
Yep.
And if you look at the deflection stats, not batted passes, but pass deflections, all these stats, he leads all of them, and he didn't make the Pro Bowl somehow. Make no sense.
The fan voting. Well, the fan voting is not the worst part, because they also have the players vote and everything, and that's the part that kills me. Because he
was number 1 in the player vote, and he didn't make the Pro Bowl.
The player vote or the fan vote?
The fan vote. Sorry, he was number 1 in the fan vote.
That's what I mean. The player vote is they go for, well, McKinney's on the Packers, and we're going to vote for the Packers because it's the Packers and the Packers, and it's like that should have nothing to do. That drives me nuts. It's like Baker Mayfield didn't make the Pro Bowl, and he's probably the best quarterback in the NFC besides Jalen Hurts. It's ridiculous.
But then someone tried to is it 3 safeties that make the Pro Bowl, or is it a free safety and 2 strong safeties?
I have no idea. I thought it was
because someone made the argument that showing pass interceptions and pass deflections and saying Budda Baker didn't deserve to be in the Pro Bowl. And I'm like, first off, they played 2 different positions. Second off, Budda Baker was the second in the NFL in tackles. And then all the comments I got were, well, tackles is not a good thing to bring up with safeties. That just means they got burned and had to make a tackle. And I'm like, do you watch Budda Baker play? That is not how he gets tackled.
They got burned and no. Strong safeties get tackles by
he's a strong safety. Stuffing runs, running down players.
It's not his fault. The other 10 guys on the Cardinals defense suck, and he's the only one who can tackle. That's not his fault.
That's what I said. I'm like, he can only do what is put in front of him, and he does that well all the time. There's a reason he is who he is. He is where he is. And whether he's had an interception in 3 years or not is irrelevant. He plays the strong safety position better than most people. I don't know. I'm like, why are we bringing up we don't need to talk about Buda Baker versus Kirby Joseph stat wise, especially if it's one free safety and two strong safeties. Now, if it was just three safeties and he made it over him, okay, now there's an argument to be made. But
two of each position. Now I want to look it up actually because I'm curious. The funny thing is, like, I'm stuck on the Madden like roster management, so it's always like two free safeties, two strong safeties in my mind. But I know that it's like some teams it's just like, all right, we have 5 safeties and they just play every position.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Curious. I didn't ever look it up, but I was arguing with people, Lions fans, but I'm a Lions fan from Arizona, where I'm like, I watch Buda Baker play every week. I don't know if you've ever watched Buda Baker, but cherry picking stats is not the way to say Buda Baker doesn't deserve to be in the Pro Bowl.
So fan voting, it lists 2 strong safeties and 2 free safeties.
So why was only one named to the Pro Bowl?
It's a great question. There was only one free safety in the NFC?
Xavier McKinney. Let me go see if they've announced something else. Free safety is only Xavier McKinney listed. Then Buda Baker and Brian Branch.
So what did they... So I can't even find the damn like Pro Bowl roster. Let's see.
Well, I'm looking at the NFC one. I don't know what the AFC one, if the AFC one had 2 or not.
I'm just curious, like, so did they have an extra player somewhere else?
There were 3 defensive ends, 3 interior linemen, 3 outside linebacker, 2 inside linebacker, 4 corners, 1 safety, 2 strong safeties. So, I don't know where that lines
I hate when
up
I click on a web page and it takes me to the ESPN app. It's like, let me just look at the fucking web page. I don't want to open your stupid app.
Forget your app. Stick it up your app. The AFC has 1 free safety as well. And it's Minka Fitzpatrick, who I thought was a cornerback.
No, I know he was a safety. He was a corner at first, I believe, but
yeah.
That's so weird that they would have 2 strong safeties. Well, and also, like, I mean, not to be a complete asshole, but why do they have a return specialist position?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's so dumb. I'm glad they have the special teamer spot, like that is important, but to have a return specialist, it's like, really?
Do they even do returns in the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, well, and most teams' returners are just guys that do other things too. So then you have a return specialist, like all you can do is return the ball, like that. I don't know. That just bothers me.
Well, so yeah, that's my number 4.
Like Kyle Juszczyk, fullback. What has he done this year? He's just the only fullback left in the league.
Yeah, right.
Like, does he really need to be a Pro Bowler?
Did he make it for both AFC and NFC? Was there an
who's the AFC fullback? I'm curious. Oh, Patrick Kirkard from the Ravens. Yeah, I've heard his name occasionally. Now I want to look at their stats. Sorry, this is a tangent, but now I'm just curious to see, like, these guys made the Pro Bowls based off what? Oh,
Sports.yahoo.com. You will give me the stats. Ricard, R-I-C-A-R-D, right?
Yeah. Oh,
he had...
You've got to be kidding me.
Why does it doesn't even show rushing on his stats?
He's had 3 catches for 22 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I see
all
that.
season. And he's in the
Yeah,
Pro
he
Bowl.
had no rushes this year or last year.
God.
Did nobody?
Man.
There were no other fullbacks that had better stats than that in the
are
whole
no other
entire AFC.
I doubt there are any other fullbacks who even caught a pass besides him. Kyle Juszczyk has had 5 rushes for 26 yards and a touchdown. 19 catches for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Still not Pro Bowl worthy. Like, I just, oh, that's so dumb.
NFL Advanced Stats. Show me Pro Bowl or show me fullbacks. Stat Muse, give me fullbacks. Anybody just sort by fullbacks? Nobody. Nobody does that because that doesn't exist.
Because the position's outdated.
Yeah. Goofy.
That's what I mean. It's like, get rid of the fullback position, and you could have had Kirby Joseph or anyone. Like, it's just what a waste of a roster spot. Insane. Anyways,
for a guy that had 24 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. All right. So my number one is Sam Darnold. When the Vikings lost J.J. McCarthy, I thought they would finish as one of the worst teams in the league. When they said Sam Darnold was going to start, I laughed. I bet they're under on 7.5 wins. And joke's on me. So, yeah.
Well, get ready. Because the other part to this is how bad his last game was against the Lions.
Oh, yes. And people, he didn't play amazingly all year. He had some games and some moments that he still looked like Sam Darnold. But light years better than he had looked his entire career up to this point.
Well, the question is going to be whether he does bad in the wild card round, and if he does, ending his season on 2 bad games, what do the Vikings do?
Yeah, it really kills the let's sign him and trade McCarthy decision.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be very interesting.
I'm curious. I think Sam Darnold is going to be one of those guys that he could do well in Minnesota, but if he does end up going back to San Francisco or somewhere else and they pay him a bunch of money, he's going to look like crap. I mean, he had Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and the Vikings defense around him. Like, no disrespect. It wasn't just Darnold carrying that team. He just managed very well and got them to a 14-3 play record.
Yeah. I think he did. I think he played well. Like I'm not going to try to take it all away from just because he had those guys, because he made a lot of long through the air passes, like good, accurate, long, deep passes all season long. So it wasn't like Peyton Manning on the Broncos in his last season where he's like had a bunch of stats. No pass went past 8 yards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He
had some arm strength.
He
just reminds me a lot of like Kirk Cousins. Like Kirk looked good in Minnesota, goes to Atlanta and looks like crap. And that's I don't know. Darnold to me it's like, yeah, you're in a good situation, man. Hopefully you can stay there. They can pay you. They can trade McCarthy, probably get a first rounder for him. And he can do well. But if he goes to the Giants or 49ers or Seattle or something, it's like, nah.
Well, Darnold's got that he didn't have season-ending injuries before he went to the Falcons, so that's another difference between him and Cousins.
Yeah,
Cousins never looked right after his injury, but Darnold's not been injured, so.
Yeah, I don't blame the Achilles for everything that's wrong with Kirk, but that's just me. All right, yeah, and your number one was the Darnold's last game against the Lions, which, again, Aaron Glenn. That's why there's so much hype around him.
I mean, that was a really good game from Aaron Glenn. That was probably his best game of the season. Just with what that defense did compared to what they were unable to do against the 49ers the week before. They couldn't stop the 49ers to save their lives, but somehow Aaron Glenn came up with a game plan with what he had to stop the high-flying Vikings defense. And it's crazy as God, I'll just say the name of the person. Rob Parker on Fox Sports. Jesus Christ, listening to that guy talk about the Lions just makes my blood boil. It's crazy. The guy is such a hater. He said the only reason Darnold was bad in that game was because there was something wrong with him. It wasn't the defense. They couldn't stop the 49ers, so why would they stop Darnold? The only reason Darnold couldn't do anything is because there was something wrong with Darnold in that game. And I'm like, yeah, it was flustered by a defense that kept him from being comfortable like he was in the past. Like,
did he say what was wrong, or is he just grasping at straws? Like
straws, grasping at straws.
He's just
all season long.
Theorist.
So I like listening to national radio as well as, local radio, because local radio starts to get really boring when every day for an hour on the way to work, I get to hear about why the Cardinals suck. I don't want to hear that anymore. I want to hear about other things. Well, every time The Odd Couple talks about the Lions, Rob Parker is always trying to, shit on Dan Campbell acting like he's a bad coach, saying, eventually these calls are going to catch up with him. He's like, well, he's winning now. He's like, yeah, but he didn't go to the Super Bowl. He hasn't won anything. It's like, so have a lot of coaches that you think are good, but just because he does it, it's so stupid. It just, you couldn't show you're more of a hater of the Lions if you tried. It's crazy. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's where the whole Sam Darnold thoughts came from, is that show, because there was obviously something wrong with him. And if it shows up again against the Rams, that's gonna be very interesting for the Vikings' decisions going forward, his money going forward, everything. So, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I've never listened to him, so I was curious. I just googled him. He's like from Detroit too. Why is he such a hater?
Oh, is he? Jesus, no wonder. Probably got tired of all the losing and he just cannot fathom them winning.
Yeah, he's such a pessimist. He's like, no, they're bad.
It's funny too, because I like Rob Parker. I think he's like the opposite of me. I feel like he's like, God, what is the word? The person that always takes the opposite stance of everybody else, but not in an annoying way. Yeah, that's one word. I'm thinking contrarian. He's always a contrarian, right? But not like that Nick Wright guy from Fox Sports, who's just the absolute fucking worst. But
where
just
did he
in a way,
come from?
I don't know where that guy came from. I'm like,
he just showed
like
up on
Napoleon
TikTok like
Dynamite
this year.
Popped out of the television and became a sports analyst. And I'm like, this guy's like, that's the other thing, right? This show is just completely off topic, by the way, but I love it. Yeah. I saw a clip from their show of him talking about whether the Lions deserved to be the Super Bowl favorites. And Jesus Christ, this guy's takes just are so bad.
The thing that drives me nuts, and it's funny because Madden, I found this out a couple years ago that Madden does this, and I fucking hate it. People can't let go of past performance. So no matter what the Lions do, everyone's just like, yeah, but remember when they went 0-16? And it's like, that's nothing to do with the team anymore. Like, completely different team. But people they think of the organization like, nope, they're just bad. And like Madden literally has that built in. When you sim, it has it built into like historical records. Mm-hmm. So no matter how good your team is, if it's like the Lions playing the Packers, they're going to be like, well, the Packers generally beat the Lions, so we're going to tweak the sim a little bit. And it's like, well, nothing matters. All that matters is the now. Yeah, I hate that shit.
Or like the narrative that, well, eventually the bottom's going to fall out on Jared Goff. He can't play like this forever. Why not?
Yeah.
Why? What do you mean he can't?
Unless things change, like, it's like he's not just suddenly going to wake up tomorrow and be like, I forgot how to play football. It's like, oh, but if like they lose players or offensive linemen or Ben Johnson, it's like, okay, things changed. That impacts.
Having only four total incompletions in a 6-game span is not an accident. That doesn't just happen. That is a player who knows how to play football. Like, get out of here, guy.
People, it just drives me nuts when everybody, like, it's the same way with, like, when they think, like, the Cowboys or Packers, they're like, oh, they're still good. It's like, no, not at this moment. Like, the Cowboys are not a good team at this moment. But, you know, it's just
fine.
Well, they have been.
I don't understand people's adherence to think that if they suddenly are bad, they're going to be bad forever. And you could never admit they're bad, because if you do, that just means they're just always going to be bad now. Like, it doesn't make any sense. The Cowboys sucked this year. They were shit. 49ers sucked this year. Yeah. There were a lot of teams that were bad this year that are historically good. That's fine. They can be bad. You don't have to. It's like, we don't have to make excuses for everyone.
Yeah, it's that
sometimes
bias
you don't have the
like,
players. It's just the way it happens.
Well, look at, like, the Patriots had a horrible year, and everyone, you know, people try to explain why, but then they look at the Titans and it's like, well, they're just a shitty team. It's like, well, one can't just be a shitty team and the other one, like, you have all these excuses for. Like,
right, exactly.
It's just, yeah.
Their excuses are pretty much the same. So what's the difference? One has historical value. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
People just have more buy-in to one organization or more. Yeah, it's stupid. Okay, yeah, we gotta get back on track here. All right, so news, a lot of news, mostly coaching. Patriots fired Gerard Mayo. We just mentioned the Patriots. Surprised they only gave him 1 year. That's crazy that they just abandoned. But I think it's because they just want Vrabel.
I say it is 1,000% because they want Vrabel.
Yeah,
and if they don't get him, that'll be pathetic for Mayo.
Hopefully, it'd be nice, like, if Mayo, like, obviously he's not going to stay on the staff, but hopefully he gets a chance somewhere, because that's just shitty to be like, you know, this is a bad team, and we're going to give you 1 year to turn it, you know, to win games. Oh, you didn't win games, you're fired. Like, he was given a bad team. Like, I can understand if you're like, you have high expectations and you underperform, but whatever. Raiders fired Antonio Pierce a day after he said everything was fine. That's weird.
You fire a coach that the players did not give up on, still played hard for, even though they stink, and then on top of that, you didn't give him a freaking quarterback.
No.
You signed Gardner Minshew and you expected the team to be a winner? Like, you did nothing to help this guy, and then after they played bad, which they didn't have a running back either, by the way.
And they traded away their only receiver.
The entire season they didn't have a running back. Zamir White to start the season. Amir Abdullah, I remember his name from 8 years ago on the Lions. I don't know how that guy's a starter in the NFL. Like, that is the team you gave Antonio Pierce, and then you fire him for it. What?
No.
You're not going to wait a year? You have the number 1 pick. You can get whatever quarterback you want. Is it them or the Patriots?
No, Tennessee has the number 1 pick.
Oh, it's Tennessee. Where'd the Raiders pick?
They dropped to 6 because they won. They won so much at the end of the year and maybe that's why they fired him, because he screwed them out of their dream Shadir Sanders. Yeah, I don't know.
Heaven forbid that the coach who
does his job and wins football games
with a crappy team and wins football games. Yeah, that's annoying. I feel bad for Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Raiders, I don't know what the hell they're going to do. They need a quarterback, but they're not in position to draft one, so we'll see what happens. Jags fired Doug Peterson. I'm not really surprised about that.
And open the door for Ben Johnson. That's my guess.
That, yeah. I did see today that there's a report they're talking about Ben Johnson to the Bears, and people are like, he would not want Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams does not go through his progressions as fast as Jared Goff does. So, like, he would want a quarterback that matches his offense, and Caleb does not. So,
can you imagine Trevor Lawrence with Ben Johnson? You might actually unlock Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, finally, after 6 years.
That would be fun to watch.
That would be they got a lot of weapons in Jacksonville too, man. Brian Thomas Jr. Like awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So then I wanted just to recap the official top 10 of the draft order. We looked at it last week and it already changed a lot. So yeah, number 1, Tennessee need a quarterback, so probably gonna take Cam Ward. Number 2, Browns. I could see them taking Shadir Sanders. They do kind of need a quarterback. They could also trade out of it if they want to stick with Deshaun Watson. Number 3, Giants need a quarterback. 4, New England does not need a quarterback. 5, Jacksonville does not need a quarterback.
That's where Tedora McMillan goes. Number 4.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Bank on it.
Drake May and Tate McMillan, man. Whew. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Jacksonville doesn't need one at 5. Vegas needs one at 6. The Jets need one at 7. Carolina does not need one at 8. The Saints need one at 9. I think they cut Derek Carr. And then Chicago at 10 does not need one.
Well, Derek Carr said this week he refuses to take a pay cut.
So. Yes, so they'll probably cut him and say, have fun.
We'll do it for you.
So there's a good 5 teams that need quarterbacks, and there's only 2 potential first-round quarterbacks at all. It's a good year to be a free agent like Sam Darnold.
Yeah, exactly.
Other news, David Montgomery is expected back for the divisional round. That's awesome for the Lions.
That's what a bye will do for you.
Yeah, give me an extra week off, even though Jahmyr Gibbs looked like a beast all by himself.
Yeah.
Seahawks fired their offensive coordinator after 1 year, which is funny because he came out of college and had a bunch of hype, and everybody thought he'd be amazing, and then they fire him after 1 season. Bengals, 49ers, and Colts. Yeah. The Seahawks their offense wasn't great, but it's like you give them 1 year and then they just outright fire him. Like,
watch Smith and Jigba be bad next year, and you're like, that offense coordinator was doing things.
Maybe we should have kept him. Yeah. Bengals, 49ers, Colts all fired their defensive coordinators, which makes sense because they all have bad defenses. Titans fired their general manager, which is smart. The guy thought Will Levis was a starter. And then Christian Watson, Packers wide receiver, tore his ACL in Week 18, which probably means he's going to miss most of next season, which sucks for him. That always sucks when you get hurt at the end of the year like that. So, all right, moving into our Week 18 review. Try to get through this quick.
This should be very quick, considering how pathetic some of these games were since they were backups.
Yeah, a lot of these games were not even worth talking about. Ravens beat the Browns. No surprise there. They locked up the AFC North. Bengals beat the Steelers on Saturday, keeping their playoff chances alive for at least 24 hours. The Steelers, too, have lost like 4 or 5 games in a row to end the year. Crazy stats. Panthers beat the Falcons, which was an exciting game. A lot of scoring in that one. Bryce Young looking good. Falcons needed to win that to stay in playoff contention, which they didn't. Commanders beat the Cowboys.
Staying on the Panthers game real quick, I saw someone that quoted Bryce Young's combined stats for the entire year, talking about, you guys think this guy's on the way up? You guys think that this guy is still going to be able to be the guy for the Carolina Panthers? And I'm like, did you see how bad he played at the beginning of the season before he got benched?
Yeah.
Now let's take his stats since he came back from being benched to the end of the season and compare those to the stats for the beginning of the season. Or even the beginning of the season mixed with last season's stats. Compare those two, and then let me know how different they are. Because the back end of the season Bryce Young versus beginning of this season and last season Bryce Young is a completely different person. It's insane the difference between those two. Taking this year's full stats and looking at them, they're not going to be that exciting with Bryce Young. He came alive in the last 8 games of the season and played crazy good.
His stats, week 1, QBR of 10.4, which is out of 100. 6.4, 17.9, 77.8, but he only attempted 2 passes in that game. 30.7, 41.1, 57.1, 47.7, 62. 85.2, 10. That was the Dallas game, which shocked everybody because they were favored.
Yeah.
Then 81.9, 62.1, and 94.3. So, yeah, played much better at the end of the season.
Yeah, as I'm saying, it's like,
yeah,
there is something to look forward to with him. That's all.
Now, do I think Bryce Young's ever going to win a Super Bowl? Probably not. But he's getting better than he was last year. So that's all you can ask of the guy.
Yep.
Commanders beat the Cowboys with Marcus Mariota on a last-second touchdown because apparently that's the only way Commanders can win games anymore is at the last second. But
especially when it's the Cowboys, because I remember the last time they played the Cowboys and how the ending was.
Yeah, almost won that game at the last second. And it's just
insane.
I wish we could just win games because my heart can't take all this crap. Like, it's just so frustrating. Bears beat the Packers, which is hilarious.
Cost me a lot of money.
The Bears had lost.
The Bears did. So thank you.
I'm sure it cost a lot of people a lot of money. 11 straight losses to the Packers, 10 straight losses in the season, and they broke both of those. But good for the Bears. They needed something. So Texans beat the Titans. I could give a crap. Colts beat the Jaguars. Don't care. Patriots beat the Bills backups. All that did was ruin their draft pick. Yeah. Eagles destroyed the Giants because the Giants are the worst team in the league. I think it's official. Bucks beat the Saints.
With Travis McKee playing quarterback. Whoever that is.
Yeah, they were on their third string quarterback and they still beat the Giants. Crap. Bucks beat the Saints and what ended up being a very close competitive game. Good on Spencer Rattler. Finally showing up at the end of the season. Broncos destroyed the Chiefs backups, which is hilarious, but it doesn't matter. Chargers beat the Raiders.
It did matter.
Well, I got the Broncos in the playoffs, yeah.
Because it kicked the Bengals out, and then it became the whole conspiracy theories across the internet started swooping. Where did you even play that game, or did you just not want to play the Bengals in the playoffs, so you threw it?
I mean, yeah, 38-0 is, even for backups, like, that was embarrassing. But
I mean, look at the score of every other game.
Yeah, I don't think there were any that were that bad, besides the Eagles. But the Eagles were at least playing starters, I think. No, they weren't, actually.
That's what I'm saying. Like, all the other backup games were close. This was a backup game with the number 1 seed, and they lost 38-0. Crazy.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't put it past the Chiefs. Chargers beat the Raiders. I think the Chargers needed to win that game, and they did. Seahawks beat the Rams. I think the Rams were trying to win. No, because they won the division. It didn't matter. But Jets beat the Dolphins. The only reason I'm glad about that is because I hope that Aaron Rodgers, now that he got his 500 touchdown and went out on a win, I hope he can get on his horse and ride off into the sunset. I really hope he retires. It's my official stance on this podcast that I fucking hate him and he needs to retire. So
please go away.
Just disappear. Go be on Pat McAfee's show and you can get all the attention you so desperately need. But just stop playing football. Cardinals shellacked the 49ers because why not? They're out of the playoffs. Why not play well and destroy a division opponent? Doesn't matter at this moment. So yeah, sure. Stupid.
It's crazy to me that with that extra game, no one can ever be 500 on a season. So even though the Cardinals get to 8 wins, they're still a losing team.
Yeah, but it's like you look at 8 and 9. If they would have won 1 or 2 more games, like they could have won the division. And especially those games against like the Rams, it's frustrating. The Cardinals are such a frustrating, stupid team. It's just annoying. Mm-hmm. And then the Lions destroyed the Vikings, which was fantastic.
Close first half, and then a just absolute Jahmyr Gibbs and Amik Robertson masterclass.
Domination.
Oh, and Kirby Joseph.
We got a question in the chat. Real May 1 says, do you think the Steelers should fire Mike Tomlin? No. The fact that he made the playoffs with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and no running backs and one receiver is impressive as hell. So no, I don't believe Mike Tomlin should be fired.
Fired? That's an interesting question. Like, why would you think just because he lost 4 games to lose in the season?
That's rough, but he also played, I think, like Baltimore and Philly and Kansas City. So it's no. There are, believe me, our 2 teams have gone through stretches of horrible coaching. You do not fire someone like Mike Tomlin.
Well, not to mention like that's the same type of question that's been asked before Lamar Jackson got to Baltimore. People were asking about John Harbaugh all the time too. But I don't think that they're where the Ravens are where they're at if they don't have John Harbaugh. Same for the Steelers.
Yeah.
With Tomlin.
The Steelers without Mike Tomlin this season with the roster they had would have won 6 games. So no.
Yeah, not. For sure.
All right, so we went through our review. Now for the picks for Week 18, it was a wild week. We both went 8-8 because
who can pick backups?
Are playing,
Great.
It was a crazy week. Before the regular season, the official final standings, you were 195 and 86 for a correct picking percentage of 69.4.
I was
186 and 91 for a percentage of 67.1.
I don't even get the point percentage to round up. I would still have to round down.
And 69.4, it was actually like 69.1 or 39 or something. So I already rounded up to 0.4. But hey, still, over 2/3 correct for both of us is freaking amazing. That is awesome. But now we will do our playoff picks. Which is there's only 6 games. So starting off, Chargers at the Texans. Chargers favored by 2.5.
Before I answer that, I wanted to go into our sleeper league and just make sure that that's the way it wound up. Oh shit! 2 people jumped me in the last. Well, I was trying to
I believe we had a tie for first.
We did. I was trying to catch up to BMZR, but we actually had 2 people. Your dad came from the depths of hell to get first. Because I remember him being at the bottom of the Pick'em League. Yeah. So congrats to Older Rich and BMZR for winning our Coffin Corner spread Pick'em League. That was a fun one.
I'm proud of myself because I started off terrible and I got better. I think I finished 5th. But I also know that a lot of people missed weeks. So I'm not patting myself on the back too much.
I lost by 2 points, and in the last 5 weeks of the season, I didn't pick the morning games twice. I'm not making excuses. I lost, but that's at least 14 games I did not even pick. So,
Oh, I know. That's you.
It
sucks.
Screwed myself. I played myself.
You played yourself and you lost.
Yeah. So congrats.
Well, who you got in this
Big
game?
Rich and BMZR. In this game, Chargers-Texans, I definitely have the Chargers.
Yep, I'm taking the Chargers as well.
Beat to hell and lucky that they were in a spot where they could win their division before everyone got hurt.
Both number 4 seeds are underdogs at home because they both won shitty divisions.
Yeah. So. Both South divisions, right?
No, it's the South and the West, NFC West.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Steelers at Ravens. Ravens by 9.5.
I would feel more comfortable thinking about picking against the Ravens if the Steelers hadn't just backed into the playoffs with a good record. So I'm going to take the Ravens.
Yeah, I think the Ravens are hot. The Steelers are they're lucky. They're lucky to be where they are because they beat up on bad teams earlier in the year. So
now, granted, I have a $5 bet on plus 21,000, I think, that I made the day after the Super Bowl last year. So if the Steelers do manage to win the Super Bowl, I'm going to win a lot of money. So
yeah, you're rooting for them, but you're not going to pick them.
I'm rooting for them, not picking them.
Broncos at Bills. Bills by 8.5.
That'll be a fun game. I don't think it'll be 8.5. That's for sure.
I think
but
it'll be closer than that.
Still going to take the Bills, I think.
It is also, I believe there's a 40% chance of snow, so that should be fun.
Of course there is.
I'm taking the Bills as well. Packers at Eagles. Eagles by 4.5.
Originally, I thought I was going to take the Packers in this one, but I think I'm going to take the Eagles. I think.
Yeah, I believe
Packers
Jalen
are
Hurts
banged up
returned to
enough
practice today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about Jordan Love, but I know Jalen Hurts should play, and I think the Eagles at full strength are better than the Packers. Even if Love played, I'd still pick the Eagles. The Packers, their record against teams with a winning record this season was awful. Like, all they did was beat up on the Bears and bad teams. So, I don't think the Packers are as good as people think. I think the Eagles win. Commanders at Bucks. Bucks by 3.
Commanders at Bucks. Bucks by 3. I'm going to take the Bucks.
I am taking the Bucks and making them my bonus, of course. But I am going to say this. Out of all the games in Wildcard Weekend, I think this is the only one where either team actually has a chance. Like, in my mind, looking at the rest of these games, it's like, I really think this is the only one that could go either way. The Commanders very well could win. But, I don't know. I'm betting on Baker.
It makes me wonder what you're picking in the next game.
Okay. But yeah, I really do think the Commanders have a chance. I'll be rooting for them, but as always, I'll be picking against them just because I cover my bases. All right, well, next one, Vikings at Rams. Vikings by 1.5.
I'm taking the Rams.
Taking the Rams. I am also taking the Rams.
I was about to say, you said that was the only game where you could see it going both ways, and I'm like, do you really think the Vikings are that good?
No, I actually think the Rams at full strength are a lot better than people think, and I think the Vikings kind of got showed. The NFL kind of saw them for what they are against Lions. I think they are very stoppable. If you fluster Darnold, they are very stoppable.
Fluster Darnold, and it's a close game. Like,
yeah. Well, I don't think the Vikings defense is good. Brian Flores is a good coordinator, but the Rams have too many weapons. When they're all healthy, there's just too much.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I'm also going with the Rams. I was hoping we'd get one. We don't even have a single one different, but that's okay.
Want to go over the predictions next week? We're already an hour.
Power through them real quick.
All right.
So predictions
6 pages here.
Yeah, but it's just because it's all spread out. So yeah, 2024 predictions. We picked over-unders for the teams based off FanDuel. I had 18 right, 14 wrong. You had 16 right and 16 wrong. You were straight down the middle. Both of us went 6-10 in the NFC, which is kind of funny. In the AFC, I was 12-4, and you were 10-6. So apparently, we both know the AFC better. But the Bills, they won 13 games. Over/under was 10.5. We both picked under. Dolphins, they won 8 games. Their over/under was 9.5. We both picked over. Jets went 5-12. Yeah. Well, the Tua's injury, I think, kind of killed us.
Yeah.
Jets went 5-12. Their over/under was 9.5. Lol. We both picked under.
I knew. I just knew.
Yeah. That was insane. 9.5.
Like, where are we getting 9.5 from? Yeah. But I mean, Zach Wilson won what, 7?
Yeah.
So...
Then maybe it might have been one of those where it's like maybe they'll win 9, but nope, didn't even get there.
Yeah.
Patriots went 4-13. Their over/under was 4.5. I went under, and you went over, so you got screwed by a technicality.
I remember what technicality?
Because it's 4.5. Oh. Yeah, so the half game. Yeah.
No, I remember this conversation vividly. And I fully 100% believed and could not believe that you did not think that they would be able to get to 5 wins.
Yeah.
And there were so many games where they lost by like 3 points or less. They should have had that 5th game. I should have been right.
They did not.
They did not. And then Jared Mayo got fired after a season.
Yeah, not his fault that they were bad. All right. AFC South Texans won 10 games. Over-under was 9.5. They barely got there, but we both had the over. Colts went 8-9. Their over-under was 8.5. Once again, I went under. You went over. So you keep getting screwed by the split right there.
By the half.
Yeah, that half game gets you. Jags went 4-13. Their over-under was 8.5. I went over because they were talented. My bad. You went under. They were well under.
I got one. Over the year.
Titans went 3-14. Their over-under was 6.5. We both had them under. That was a safe one.
Easy. Mayonnaise
Ravens went 12-5. Their over-under was 10.5. We both had the over. Steelers went 10-7. Their over-under was 8.5. We both picked over because Tomlin doesn't finish, under 500, and he didn't again.
Yep.
Bengals went 9-8. Their over-under was 10.5. I went under. You went over. So we split that one. And then the Browns 3-14. Their over-under was 8.5. We both had the under. Yeah, because come on, 8.5 wins from the Browns.
Yeah, 8.5. This is the one that whole division was weird. 10.5, 8.5, 10.5, 8.5. Like,
yeah,
someone's gonna be losing.
Yeah. Someone has to finish at the bottom. So, and it was the Browns, which we both knew. Chiefs went 15-2. Their over-under was 11.5. We both picked over, of course. Chargers went 11-6. Their over-under was 8.5. We both had the under. So neither one of us saw Harbaugh turning them around that fast.
That fast? No.
Yeah.
Not. But they did.
They did. Broncos went 10-7. Their over-under was 5.5. We both had the over.
Hey,
Raiders went 4-13. Right? What's that?
We got the Broncos right.
Yeah, they went well over. Raiders 4-13. Over-under was 6.5, and we both had the under because we knew they'd be bad.
Nope.
All right, so that was the AFC. Now going to the NFC where we did much worse. Eagles went 14-3. Their over-under was 10.5. We both did pick the over. Commanders went 12-5. Their over-under was 6.5. We both picked the under. I didn't see that coming.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, I'm happy to be wrong, but did not see 12 wins coming from the Commanders. Cowboys went 7-10. Their over-under was 9.5. We had both had the over, but injuries and just being bad really hurt them this year.
We jinxed them. Good job.
Yes,
good job,
we did.
us.
Giants went 3-14. Their over-under was 6.5. I had the over. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. You had the under. I think I was probably just being a pessimistic Commanders fan. But you had the under on that one, so you got that one. Bucks went 10-7. Over-under 7.5. We both picked the over, of course. Falcons went 8-9. Their over-under was 9.5. We both had the over. Thought they'd be a little bit better. Panthers went 5-12. The over-under was 5.5. Once again, you got screwed by the technicality. I had the under. You had the over. That's 3 that you lost by half
a game.
Yeah,
that's freaking rough. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's a rough way to lose. Saints were 5-12. Their over-under was 7.5. We both picked under. Correct.
Yeah.
Lions 15-2. Their over-under was 10.5. We both had the over. Vikings went. Packers went 11-6. Bears went 5-12. Over-under was 8.5. We both had the over. We both thought the Bears would win at least 9 games. Yeah.
What was I thinking?
We both thought the Bears would win at least 9 games. I think it was because we thought the Vikings and Packers would be so much worse that the Bears could win those games at least. But
just
crazy to remember too.
On the NFC North, that's so bad.
At one point, the Bears were 4-2. Like that the craziest thing to think about.
Yeah.
They were 4-2 and went 1-10 the rest of the way. Like just insane. But
that's real bad.
Yeah, that's rough, man. That's rough. All right, last division, Rams were 10-7. Over under was 8.5. We both had the over. Seahawks 10-7. Their over under was 7.5. We both had the under. Cardinals 8-9. Over under was 7.5. We both had the under. And 49ers 6-11. Over under was 11.5. We both had the over. So yeah, we were.
So the two divisions that. Okay, for me, the two divisions, the two teams I follow the most are in. I got everyone wrong except for one.
Yeah. You had the Lions correct and the Rams correct, and then the other three teams in each of those divisions. Well, we both did. Like, we both.
And then you did the same thing for the NFC East. So
yeah. I had the Eagles right and got everything else wrong. So, yeah. That's what's crazy. And it's funny. Me and my dad do standings where we pick what the record's going to be for each team before the start of the season. And then at the end of the year, we go over it and we pay each other $1 based off how wrong we were, like each game. And in the end, he ended up paying me $8 because I was 8 better than him. But we were both better in the AFC than the NFC. Like, it's the NFC where we pay more attention because there are, like, rivals. We were worse than the AFC where it was just like, oh, let me just pick stuff. It's weird. I think I just overthink because it's our divisions.
Right.
But playoff predictions. So you had 4 out of 7 playoff teams in the NFC correct. You didn't have any dead on as far as the seed goes, but you did have the Lions, Eagles, Rams, and Packers as playoff teams.
Wait, I got the Packers on right for seed.
Oh, you did. Yes, I'm sorry. You had the Packers as a wild card. Correct. So yes, you did have the.
And I have them listed as the last seed, which they were.
Oh yeah, they were the 7th seed. So yeah. And the AFC, you had 4 out of 7 playoff teams correct. You had the Texans as the 4 seed. And then you had the Ravens, Chiefs, and Bills all in the playoffs as well. So, not a good showing. I, in the NFC, only got 3 teams correct, but I did nail the Eagles as the number 2 seed. And then I also had the Lions and Packers making the playoffs. In the AFC, I had 4 out of 7, and I had 2 seeds correct. The Chiefs at the 1 and the Texans as the 4, and then the Ravens and Bills making the playoffs. I didn't get any of the wild cards in the AFC right, though. So, yeah. Not too shabby. I mean, we were both about 500 in picking over-unders. I was a little better, but still, about 500. And then
neither of us had the Bucks. We both had the Falcons instead of the Bucks, and didn't even have the Bucks as wild cards.
Yeah, I know. It's because and then I go back and look at we had them over 7.5 wins, but not a playoff team. Like I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, but
crazy.
Yeah, crazy. But yeah, there you go. And then we'll dive into our wild card and divisional
picks,
game predictions, and picks, but also like who we predicted to make the championship games and everything. We'll dive
that's
into
what
that
I mean, like the
weeks.
preseason picks.
Yes, our preseason picks for who we think make the championship games and Super Bowl
playoff bracketology.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there you go. It was a little bit longer, but we got through our predictions.
I like it. That was fun. I can't believe how absolutely neutral my picks were.
I think it's crazy that like we both did better in the AFC and then we were both 6-10 in the NFC. Like that's so funny I think it's again the Giants. I don't know what the hell I was thinking.
Mine's the Bears.
I did the Bears too. I legitimately thought the Bears would be better. Everybody thought the Bears would be better than they were. But like the Giants, I had them up over, what was it, 6.5 wins? Like I think I was just being a pessimistic fan of the Commanders. Like everyone in our division is going to win 8 or 9 games, and we're going to be terrible.
Probably that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you're just listening to the audio podcast, remember every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, you can find us on TikTok, except for tonight, because my computer was being really, really dumb. And that's why we started so late. But normally, 7 p.m. at Coffin Corner Podcast on TikTok. Or if you are a TikTok listener, you're here right now, you want to listen to the regular podcast, just go to any place you can find a podcast, search Coffin Corner Podcast, and look for the Pylon logo, and you will find us there as well. If you want to rewatch this VOD, you can find it on our YouTube, which is youtube.com/@Coffin Corner. youtube.com/@Coffin Corner. That is where you can find the reruns or the live recording of this podcast. If you want to watch it rather than listen to it, that is where you can do it. And if you want to see where we're tweeting about the NFL and the Wildcard games this weekend, you can go to me at Den Defenders on X, and you can find Richie at Hail Hogs on X. Anything else, Richie? You have anything else you want to say or add?
Nope, just my Commanders, go Commanders. And Lions don't play this week, so you can also be rooting for the Commanders.
Yeah, I'll be a Commanders fan this weekend. All right, everybody, thanks for listening.
Oh, you know what? Sorry. Because I thought about this week, and so if the Eagles beat the Packers and the Commanders beat the Bucks, the Commanders would travel to Detroit. So that would be quite the fun game.
That would be. That'll be interesting. I really just don't want the Vikings to win. I don't want to watch. I don't want to play them again. I don't want a third try.
Yeah. No, that would suck.
Those are always the scary ones. So
that's why I didn't want to play the Eagles. So like if like being the 6th seed, not having to play Philly, I'm so happy.
Yeah, there you go. That makes sense to me. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for us this week. I don't have to say the catchphrase this week because the Lions got the number 1 seed in a bye, so I don't have to watch anything. So anyways, I'll just say this. Good luck to everybody and to your teams because they won't be playing mine.
Yeah.
We'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.